College will teach you how to think like an employee, not like an entrepreneur. College, university will essentially teach you how to think like everyone else out there versus how to think like yourself, how to think like an individual, how to identify your own likes, dislikes, wants, right? Versus the wants, likes, and dislikes of the majority, of the hive, of the herd. Okay, this is what I dislike about college, university, and school in general, right? School, I've always had a problem with school, is because it teaches you how to think like everyone else in your classroom, everyone else who's taken that class, everyone else in society. And it doesn't teach you how to think like yourself. It doesn't teach you how to become more like yourself. Instead, it teaches you how to become more like the hive, right? The crowd, the mob. It doesn't want you to be an individual. It wants you to be part of the collective. And this is why, I truly believe this, this is why society really, really frowns upon people who show fierce individualism, people who show fierce motivation to not take the beaten path, who go off of the beaten path, right? Like if you were to tell your family that you're not going to school anymore, you're not going to go to a college, you're just going to do your own thing, they would probably not like that, right? They might start yelling at you. They might try to shame you. Because for them, they're thinking like, hey, what's going to happen to you if you don't do what everyone else is doing? What's going to happen to you if you don't get the same worthless degree that everybody else is getting? What are you going to do with your life? You have to follow the beaten path. And it's almost like they're communicating to you that they don't trust you enough. They don't trust that you can take care of yourself enough to make it out there without being part of the system, right? Everybody wants you to be part of the system. Everybody wants you to have a safe job. Go to school, go to college, then go out there and get a safe, comfortable job. Everything's like job. Become an employee. Well, recently we just had an economic breakdown, didn't we? With a little virus that happened and some protests and whatnot, we had a little bit of an economic breakdown. The stock market came crashing down for a little while. This is not that much different from the 2008 housing real estate meltdown where the economy went into the shitter, and not much different from the 2000 dot-com bust where the economy also went in the shitter, and many times before that. During those times, guess what happens? People get laid off. People lose their jobs. We have record unemployment. People can't pay their rent. People can't pay their mortgage. People are freaking out, and they are depending. This was really scary the last time, and I mean pretty much all the times that this has happened where we had an economic breakdown. People started looking to the government to help them. And the government, like the nannies that they are, sent out checks to everybody, right? They sent out stimulus checks because people were freaking out. People were like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what's going to happen to me or my family because I can't get work. I don't have a job. Job, right? Because they didn't have the self-efficacy to do anything else, to go off of the beaten path. And I'm not faulting anyone who stays on the beaten path because really that's what you're indoctrinated to do. That's what society tries to program you to do since birth. But what I really despise is how they try to bag on people who take an alternate route, who go in a different direction than everybody else in life. I grew up in a family where everybody went to school, everyone got college degrees. My mother has a doctorate degree in education, so she was a teacher for like 35 years in the San Francisco Public Unified School District. My dad was blue collar, so he would always be like, Dad, you don't want to end up like me, doing all this hard labor. I want you to go to school. I want you to get good grades. And, he was like, I sacrificed so much so I could send you to a good school and all this. And yeah, it's true, and I felt really bad at the time because my heart really was never in school. My heart was always in like, I want to do something else. I've told this story just so many times, like the first time I registered for college and the line was like around, it was insane how far it was, like a 5-hour line to register for classes. I'm looking at everybody in that line, and I was like, I know these kids are way smarter than me. I know that, once we get in the classroom, I'm not going to be able to like hold up with some of these kids. They look really, really smart, and I had to figure out, like, basically trust my gut instinct and really figure out like what feels right for me. And what felt right for me was not school. Even though I stayed in school, I stayed. I just kind of gutted it out. I did okay. I wasn't like an A student or anything like that. I did okay, enough to pass my classes, but my heart was never in it. My heart was never in it, and I just went off the beaten path. Like, even while I was in school, I was starting my own businesses. I was trying to support myself financially so I didn't have to like take a real job. I really haven't had many real jobs. I can count them on one hand. Even though I got successful later and I had a few corporate jobs that paid me 6 figures a year, those really, I'll tell the story on how I got those jobs another time. I did not get those jobs by going through the normal process of applying, going through all these interviews and wowing them with my resume, and then they called me out of thousands of applicants and said, "You're the guy." No. My first corporate job, I basically stalked the hiring manager. I knew she was coming down the elevator after our interview, so I kind of like, there was a Subway down there, so I had my Subway sandwich as I waited for her to leave, and so I could like walk with her to the BART and talk with her more and kind of just see if we had commonalities and just kind of like harp on those commonalities and just kind of bond with her, right? Using like rapport and comfort and basically what I teach you guys in Pickup and Game. So I basically was working game on my hiring manager, and sure enough, I got that job. Were there better applicants? Yeah. Did I not do my job? Of course I did my job, right? I like really killed it. I really made her look good, because that's another thing is like, I don't like people betting on me and then me letting them down. I was like, if people want to place their bets on me and people believe in me, I don't want to let them down. So, I mean, I came through like crazy, and I ended up making that company a lot of money. And I had to do what I had to do to get hired. I had to go off the beaten path. Everybody else just went to their interview, tried to wow the hiring manager with the resume, and I knew that can only get you so far. I knew I had to take an extra step. You ever see that movie, Pursuit of Happiness? I really, really relate to that movie, especially at the end where Will Smith is like, they're ready to hire him. He's basically crying. I literally had that experience. Like when they offered me the job, I was like literally in tears almost. And I kind of did let loose a little bit by the time I got to my car, because that was like the best job I've ever got in my life. I knew financially that I was going to be okay from that point on if I just stayed there. That was the job that, I basically went from broke. I lost everything in the stock market. Girlfriend left me at that time. I got that job. 6 months later, I went from zero, like penniless, to buying a top-down Mercedes. It's like happened that fast. When I got that job and they hired me, it was just like, yeah, that movie, Pursuit of Happiness, always kind of like hits home with me when I watch that movie. I didn't go through the extent he did, where he was like living at the BART station or anything like that, but I was pretty broke. I didn't have any money, and girlfriend had just left, and life looked really bleak at that point. I just kept plugging away, and I was like, I got to make something happen. Getting back to the topic of the coaching video, as far as school goes, that's the one thing that I really don't like about school, is it really teaches you to think like everyone else, and it really takes away your ability to figure out what you actually like and what you actually want to do with yourself. And unfortunately, your family kind of aids in this, right? Your parents kind of aid in this. They kind of aid in this plot to indoctrinate you into becoming part of the system. Okay? And once you become part of the system, you are vulnerable to anything that happens to the system. Like when we had an economic breakdown, especially recently, or any of the other ones in the past. What happened when the economic breakdown happened and everyone lost their jobs? The system came crashing down, right? System came crashing down. People lost their jobs, couldn't pay their rent. Life was uncertain. For me, I have an internet business. One of the number one businesses that don't get affected by any economic breakdowns are internet businesses. As a matter of fact, we saw our sales numbers go up during the economic breakdown when people were apparently losing their jobs and losing their minds and nobody was hiring. Our business actually increased in sales. Right now, I own a number of websites. I've mentioned this before. It's not just my pickup and dating business anymore. I've been able to venture out and purchase other sites that were producing cash flow, that have high value products that I believe in, that I put a team behind, that we are marketing and selling, that have nothing to do with dating advice. It's just a different type of niche. Those businesses did phenomenal well. It's like, explain that while my relatives, my family members are losing their jobs, trying to scrape by. It's sad to see that because they bought into that system. You know, friends of mine, guys I went to school with, college with, you know, bought into the system. They thought the system would protect them. They thought the system was the way. They thought the system was the only way because that's what they were led to believe thanks to school, college, university. They made such a big stink out of it. I remember I had one commenter. It was on a video that I did about college, how basically you don't need college anymore these days. I mean, again, and I always point out, unless you want a professional degree where you have to be licensed by the state, and you want to go out and become a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, yes, you're going to need a degree. No way around it. You're going to need to go to school for that. But most other things, you just want to learn business. You want to start your own business. You want to paint for a living. You want to do filmmaking. You don't need a degree for that. You can just start, baby. You can just go out there and start. And when I was in college, guess what I was studying? Business. I was studying business administration. And you know what? By the second semester, I was bored out of my mind listening to my professor talk about business theory and business math and calculations and inventory and all this. And I'm like, I don't get this. I need to go experience it so I understand it. So guess what I did? Started my own business. I was like 19 years old. I started my own business, and what I was doing on the side was I was working at Mel's Drive-In in San Francisco on Geary, making milkshakes. I was what you call a soda jerk. I was the guy who made the milkshakes. I could make a mean-ass milkshake, by the way. But I was the guy making milkshakes, serving the drinks, making minimum wage and tips while I was trying to start my own business because I was so bored out of my mind with what I was learning from class. You know, and I was going to a pretty good college. I was bored out of my mind. I'm like, I have to experience this because I don't get it. I wasn't understanding it, and I don't like learning from textbook. And you might be this type too. You have to learn what your type of learning method is. Mine is I don't like learning from reading like textbook. I need to go experience it. I need to go do it. And this is probably why, you know, I became like a pickup artist because it's something that's very physically engaging, physically active, where you have to engage physically. You can't just read a textbook. You have to go out and do it and cold approach people. Same thing with business. I really got bored out of my mind, so I was like, I got to start my own business. And then lo and behold, I did. And that one became successful for a while. I really didn't have to take a job for many years because that business was successful. But then I started some flops too. I failed a bunch of times. I succeeded here and there, you know, until recently. I just have been doing nothing but succeeding just because I think my business skills and my entrepreneur skills have gotten so good that I never have to worry about taking a job again. I mean, even if all my businesses came crumbling down and you left me in the street naked, I wouldn't need help. I can pick myself back up. I could start a new business that has nothing to do with pickup and dating, and I could go out there and probably make, you know, several times what I'm making now. Just because I have that self-efficacy and self-belief, because I've never really followed the beaten path. I've never really believed that school is the only road to success. You know, I mean, can you be successful going to school? Of course you can. Of course you can, if that's your type of personality, if that's something you want to do. I did a coaching video recently on whether or not you should start your own business, and I specifically mentioned that coaching video, it's not for everybody. Starting your own business, becoming an entrepreneur, trying to get rich, it's not for everybody. I even said, like, most people would be better off just staying at their comfy corporate job, staying at their teaching job, or whatever job you have. Most people will just be better off staying at those jobs and not taking the financial and emotional risk of starting your own business. There's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. There's going to be a lot of financial uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of gambling involved, a lot of risk taking that most people are just not wired for. they're better off like following the beaten path, going to school, getting that degree, getting a good job, and just being happy with it. The key is, like, even if you do that, even if you go to school and say you get that job that you've always wanted, you get that dream job, you're one of the few that do, just try to keep your individuality. Okay, try to keep your own thoughts. Don't buy into the thoughts of the masses that they're constantly trying to sell you on television through the MSM, the mainstream media. Okay, always protect your individual thoughts, your individual wants, likes, dislikes. You have to be able to protect those things. I mean, me being on YouTube, me being a public figure, having over 200,000 subscribers now, with both channels combined, it's over 200, I think it's like 225 right now, 225,000 and growing. I get a lot of people who will say, oh, you know, this isn't right, but this or that in the comments. And I mean, it's just like, okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion. That's what works for you, but that doesn't work for me. What works for me is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm able to kind of protect my own individual thoughts, and nobody has the mental fortitude to shake that out of me. Even my own parents can't do that. I mean, if anybody's going to have authority over me, it's going to be my own parents, even at this age, and even they can't shake the ideas that I've developed. Definitely not a stranger on in the comment sections, you know, hiding behind a faceless profile and fake account. It's going to change my mind. But the thing is, like, when it comes to school, that I really, really despise is the indoctrination. To think like, oh, you got to think like everybody else, and oh, you got to be like everyone else, and if you don't think this way, you're an evil person. If you're not for SJW rights, oh, you're horrible, and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, I mean, you're a grown man. By the time you go to college, you're 18 years old, right? And you can start acting like a grown-ass man and stop letting people try to indoctrinate you just because you don't want to get kicked out of your social tribe, right? You don't want your friends to suddenly dislike you and stop inviting you. That's the thing I don't like about college, is it teaches you to think like everyone else instead of thinking like yourself. It teaches you basically to become an employee, which, hey, if that's what you want to become and you just want to work for a company where you can collect a safe paycheck, that's fine. But make sure you're doing that out of your own free will. That's something you want, and it's not something you're doing because you're trying to follow the path that was laid out for you by the system. Feel me? If it's something that you want to do, like you want to become a doctor and you want to start your own practice, or you want to become an attorney or an accountant and you want to work for, you know, this giant accounting firm like Deloitte and Touche. Was it Deloitte and Touche? Something like that. That's a big accounting firm. Then do that, because that's something that you're choosing out of your own free will, right? It's not something that you are kind of being persuaded to do because the system wants you to be part of it. Your parents want you to be part of the system. You know, make sure it's something you want to do. So if you're in school right now and say it just doesn't feel right, say you're just not feeling it, you know, maybe you just don't like going to class. If you're like, walk around campus thinking to yourself, why am I here? Why am I wasting my time? What am I doing here? That's your gut trying to tell you something, right? That's your soul talking to you, going, maybe there's a better plan. Maybe there's a better path for us. As I've said in my entrepreneur video, you know what? Starting a business, it's not for everybody. But if your gut is telling you to do that, then maybe it's for you. Okay, if your gut is telling you to go out there and throw caution to the wind, roll the dice, roll on the dice. Hopefully you roll sevens, you don't roll snake eyes. If your gut is telling you to do that, then that's likely something that you're going to need to explore. You know, just as when I was in college, my gut was constantly talking to me every single day. I'd be driving around campus looking for parking. Jesus Christ. I spent hours every morning looking for parking just to go to class for a few hours. And I'm like, what am I doing here? You know, why am I here? It's like, yeah, I like socializing with kids my own age, right? They're hot chicks on campus. I like doing that. I was doing game on campus. I like this. But outside of that, I'm just here to socialize and eat in the food court. What did we call it back then? The student union. I'm just here to go to the student union and eat food and screw around. I don't really have any interest in going to class. And many times I did skip class. I skipped class. So you have to really listen to your gut and go, hey, is this for me or isn't? And if it is, cool, go with it. Hey, if you're comfortable at school and you feel good about it and you're in class and you're doing well, great, do that, right? Make sure you're doing it for you though, not because you're, going to become part of the system. But if you look at a lot of these college students out there, I mean, most of them are just too young to know any better. Most of them have not developed that mental maturity yet to identify whether or not this is right for them. Maybe they should be taking a beaten path. Maybe, not even starting your own business. Say you want to be a painter, a filmmaker, something like that, where you don't really need a degree for that. Maybe you could go to vocational school. You don't need to be in college. You don't need to dump 50 grand every semester of your parents' money into this, where you're going to be graduating with all this student loan debt that you cannot write off. All right, you have to decide what is right for you. You have to listen to your gut. Is there a better way? There's always a better way, right? College is just the default. Going to university is just the default. That's just a default path. But there's always a different path, always an alternate route that you can take. Like when you're driving somewhere and you get on the freeway and all of a sudden it's like backed up, there's this massive traffic jam, like going to where you're going. What do? Do you stay on the freeway? No, a lot of times you'll get right off, right? Especially if you know your way around, you'll get off, you'll take an alternate route. This is exactly what you need to do when it comes to college and university and you're just not feeling it in your gut. You need to take an alternate route. You need to explore alternate routes. Maybe it might not be the right one. Maybe it will. You don't know unless you explore it. But the worst thing you can do is stay on the beaten path and do what the system is telling you to do. You can explore vocational schools, or you could just get out and start doing it. You don't need a degree for many of these things that you're getting a degree for. I knew people who wanted to become actors. They were going to trying to get a degree in drama. I'm like, why? Just go to Hollywood, dude. Take your shot. Go get some headshots. Go get in some acting classes. Start auditioning and see if you're good enough. Put yourself out there. Stop hiding at the school. Stop hiding in your drama class. Get out there. Take your ass to Hollywood and let's see what you're really made of, right? Just like me when I started my business. It's like, I barely went to class because I was working on my business. I remember by the time I was 21, when school started, my business started doing well. I was driving a red Corvette to school and people were like, is that dude a drug dealer? Right? Is that kid a drug dealer? I was driving a Corvette to school. Next thing you know, next semester, pulling up in a Ferrari. That kid's got to be a drug dealer, right? Everyone's like, he's got to be a drug dealer. And even at that point, I'm like, why am I going to school? What am I doing here? It's just you're so programmed at that age to think I've just got to stay on the beaten path. Even if I am kicking everyone else's ass right now, better just stay on the beaten path. No, get off the beaten path. Take an alternate route or take your own route or just, get a shovel and dig out your own route. Find a new way. Okay? Just don't become a part of the herd, the sheep out there. Okay? If school is for you, great. Keep going on that path. But for many of you, it's not, and you know it, and you're staying there. And you're basically being trained to become an employee. You're being trained to think like everyone else because you don't have a path that's your own. Right? So with that said, I'm going to wrap up here. Until next time, this is Matt Cross from Alpha Male Secrets. Don't forget to smash that like button below. Also, hit that notification bell right next to it so that you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on YouTube. And more importantly, guys, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a ton when you guys subscribe. And also when you share my coaching videos with other like-minded red pill friends of yours, okay? It helps out our community, it helps grow the channel, obviously, and it helps grow our movement as men. If you have other like-minded friends who think like you, who share the same ideas and values as you, bring them onto my channel, have them subscribe, and send them some of my coaching videos, and just bring them over. Okay, just bring them over. For you guys who want to support my work and all of this red pill, gold pill, platinum pill content that I am creating for you even further, the best way to do that is by becoming a premium subscriber of my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel, which I am hosting on a private platform away from YouTube. And the reason why I'm doing that is to protect my content in the event that YouTube just all of a sudden shuts us down because they don't like you guys becoming empowered. They don't like you guys becoming woke to the truth, right? No matter what happens, I will still have my premium alpha channel being hosted on this other private platform that I'm paying for. Okay, I'm paying for this platform where I'm putting my premium content on it, so it will never be lost and nobody can ever take it down. Even if YouTube ever does take us down, you will be a member of my premium alpha channel and you will be safe. Okay. Also, it's way more private than YouTube. With YouTube, I mean, there's just a lot of privacy issues, not that much different from Facebook. But on my private platform, everything is encrypted, everything is secure, so you can guarantee that you're safe on my private platform. Again, because I'm paying for this platform. It's only $1 for the entire first month of premium alpha male coaching lessons from me. And all you need to do to get signed up is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now and I will see you in my next coaching video.